What's up, YouTube? What's up, Extreme Gains family? I'm Chuck. This is Extreme Gains. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is or ever will be financial advice. Please do not take it as such. Today is Tuesday, February 1st, 2022, and this is the AMC Algo Exposed Daily Update and Prep video for tomorrow and beyond. Wow, what a day. Early pre-market, boom candles, continuation to the upside. A few things happened today. We talked about them in the live stream and the possible scenarios or reasons as to why today took place. I'll leave it at that and let you kind of draw your conclusions from the conversations that we had there and just let the charts do the talking. So, with that said, let's dive in. On your left is the new snake Algo, snake head, and what appears to be maybe the whole snake. We don't know how long yet until we get into it and confirm it being the one. But nonetheless, here it is. This is how we had it laid on here. I know a lot of y'all were asking what was validated and invalidated, and the answer is absolutely nothing with this move, right? Right now, we are getting, and for the record, we closed up 4.98%, 1686, and we are currently up an additional 14 cents in aftermarket of 0.89 or 15 cents at 1701. So we are getting a little push back up for the time being here. It did look like a potential liquidity rake, although it looked for the most part to be market wide. I did see a few things drop here after hours, but nonetheless, throughout the day, I think most pushed to the upside with the broader market. So anyways, this was the original placement of the snake algo. Let me zoom out one more time so you can see, right? This one here was showing the potential $7 bottom, single bottom, and move up from there. This, even though we got the move to the upside, again, it's nothing I'm going to invalidate at this point. Yes, the levels are different, but that can happen. This would indicate, if this were to stay relevant at this point, I believe, that the next macro move be a breakdown of the 1665 that I talked about, and come back down to the downside, almost down to the macro descending wedge, and that would put us at around 1350 on this next direct macro move. I did talk about levels last night as well that were relevant today. Obviously, the 1665 area, and then the mid-sized descending wedge resistance as being the potential rejection and resistance. And that was something we needed to break through. Obviously, like I discussed in the live stream, the macro megaphone support, which at one time was support, which now would be resistance, going to be the level in which I put the most weight on to regain or retake control over that support to potentially see continuation to the upside. So that's really where my head is at. It's nice to see this, but it really, to me, in the short term or in the long term, means nothing if I'm not swinging or scalping. It means absolutely nothing unless I get back up in here and start seeing continuation to the upside. So as you can see here, I'll go ahead and zoom in on the snake. Again, just the levels are off. Still projected the movement. Talked about it yesterday. I wanted to see a push to the upside. Got way more than I was expecting, but nonetheless, it is showing itself in that form. Again, as you can see, the next move from a generalized perspective of the macro movements would be a push to the downside for that one to stay relevant in this position. Okay, so that's the snake algo. While I'm on this chart, before I go over to that one, I also talked about last night potentially bringing back the prior snake. That was this one that gave me and us over 2 months, a little more, worth of absolute projected movement. I want to show you, this one is also giving some insight, which is pretty cool. Let me show you this as well. There's how that was laid on the chart previously. I talked about it today. If we start seeing this ascending level of support on the way up, right, that would indicate to me that we are essentially still in the snake. So you can see this on the 4-hour. Okay. I want to show you what it looks like on the 1 hour, because that's where it really does show itself to me. All right, again, not going to be exact. I just want to show you what that level would look like if lined up. It's no different than showing you down here, right, what this would look like. Then here you go as well. Not candle for candle, but it does give you, look at that. This one here obviously indicates a generalized perspective of the macro move, the upside directly, right? There's a difference between those two, which is great. See a point of validation and invalidation between the two of them, which will help moving into the next day or two to, again, gauge where we're at and which one we're still in as far as the snake algo, okay? That, and again, this one was from the previous fractal, previous macro time zone and fractal. It projected all of these movements from the beginning of December, all of January, and now potentially into February. Before I removed this, I was very adamant when telling you all how this works, and I wasn't sure because of the extended time frames whether or not it was going to continue to lead and show, or if the new one that showed itself, which is this one, was going to continue or take over and lead and show. And you can see we're at a divergence point, right? That it did shoot up higher than the new one. However, if it were to immediately come back down in this position, I believe, and I can stretch this and make the bottom come down a little further than 7 and, you know, pull this up to where it actually looks like that. And I'm not going to do that because I don't think it's necessary. I do believe if this thing were to, and I'm going to show you both of them overlaid, I do believe that this next move were to be immediate to the downside, like this one here is indicating in this position, that it would still be valid. And this one here is an immediate move to the upside. That's looking at the two snake heads, the previous one that gave us 2+ months worth of projected, spot on projected movements, and the new one that I picked up on and have used Thursday, Friday, and Monday's movements. And today, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. Yes, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. It's now projected. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for invalidation and or validation for the snake algo, the previous and the new one, the new time zone that we just entered last Wednesday. Okay, snake algo done. Here is the macro to macro descending wedge replica of the 7-year. We're going into the 8-month fractal of the macro descending wedge with the multiple box top and W, or box top and descending wedge breakdowns throughout in the same pattern as well. And I transposed the entire, this is the one that nobody likes because it indicates a bottom down by $3-4. Again, not my projections, nothing I'm calling out, just showing you the detailed versions of these overlays and comparative macro to macro fractal, as well as the snake algo micro to macro comparative for projection purposes, right? And some insight as to what we may see. Whether or not, I said this in the live stream today, whether or not anyone likes this, or if it confirms your bias, or whether you think it's absolutely stupid that $3 and $4 may, there's no way that it's going to be there. That's up to you whether or not you decide that. I could care less either way. What I do and what I am sold on is the absolute replicated movements of this and the long-standing projection that this entire macro to macro, and I don't even have the other one up here, but the 7-year to what was 7, now 8-month fractal, the entire projection powers that has given throughout this entire macro descending wedge from May, June till now, is what matters to me. And it's still doing it. So let me show you that. Here it is from where I have it clipped from. All right. But if you want to go do your own DD and check it out, you'll see. This thing, if you clip this clear back to even the third box top descending wedge, again, I pointed out in the previous video that there's a couple little nuanced moves that are different, but the overall generalized perspective of all of those macro movements have been projecting this entire macro fractal of the descending wedge for a long time. So that's why it's valid to me. Whether or not the bottom hits at 3 or 4 or 7 or 8, again, none of my concern. I'm going to load up if that's the case and ride it back up. But I'm going to continue to use it until it invalidates itself on such a level that I deem necessary to do so. Okay, so I talked about it in yesterday's video as well when I brought this up. We were down in here yesterday. Last night, we were right here. And I said, this was all blue candle. Look at this. Clear up to here. Blue candles, clear up to the mid-size descending wedge resistance, which I talked about and compared to this last night if we were to blow up, because I said, well, what if we blow up? Somebody asked me that yesterday. What if we blow up out of here? Did it invalidate? Do we have a bullish one to lay over? And I talked about the previous one, everything. Remember that? Okay, well, here you go. We got that exact move today. Exactly what this was calling for. There are the blue candles. Not sure if you can see that. And again, this isn't candle for candle, but look, clear up to here. Literally less than $1 off with it laying right there. Right? But it indicated and projected a move up to the descending wedge resistance and a rejection and back down to the downside. Now, what does it indicate from here? This to me indicates, and we talked about this right before the end of the live stream, somebody else who's also following this as well, or something similar to it, can't remember, a potential move up in the short term in the next 4-hour candle is what I said in the live stream, followed by downside. Then downside move to the macro descending wedge support, potential breakdown of that because of the wick down. Maybe, maybe not, right? You don't see it replicate it candle for candle here, so it may not here as well. But I would assume myself that we would see, if this were to continue to play out to the downside, that we would see something at least down to the macro descending wedge support like this indicates, and then a bounce from there. Then we would have the 1450 as a resistance on top, creating a rejection bounce potentially back down. And I think you can kind of see what all that indicates. But nonetheless, you can see its validity. You can see the projection powers that this thing has had over time and continually still does. Call it Old Faithful today because it seems to be that, unfortunately. And once again, I don't know how many times I got to say this. These are not my projections, okay? I don't make projections. I don't make predictions. I find these and I find the relation and correlation within the charts that I feel are valid and something that needs to be looked at and discussed for myself. And if you want to join in on that discussion with me, you come and watch the content. If not, good deal. No worries. I appreciate all of it either way. But here you go. That is the macro to macro and what it projects right out of the gate, and short-term and potential, the generalized perspective of the macro, the next macro move. And these are both of the snake heads and bodies, the old one being the more bullish with the ascending level of support on the way up. I talked about the short-term, and then obviously you can see the long-term movement if this continues to blaze the path. This head is the actual head, and then here's the new one, right? And we talked about its short-term move and its long-term move. So I think we're good to go. I think we're prepared for everything when it comes to this, both to the upside and or the downside. Are these the only things that could happen? No. I talked about it today. If you know for sure that anything is possible, if you accept the fact that anything is possible, then you're in the game. You're in the game. But if you think things are imminent and and things like this are not possible, in my opinion, I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment on either side of that extreme spectrum of either one of those things. So that's why I take the approach I take. I know a lot of y'all appreciate that approach. That is the approach that y'all have now decided to take along with me, and I appreciate you for that. So I hope that helps. I will be live first thing tomorrow morning as well for market open to market close, like always, right here at 9 a.m. And hope to see y'all there. I better. If I don't, I will see you all in the update video tomorrow night, as always, after market close. Thank you all. Appreciate it. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Later.